There is a certain kind of vehicle that looks unassuming at a glance yet earns a cult following for reasons most people outside the enthusiast world rarely notice. Some machines become legends not because of excess power or massive size but because they refuse to quit when conditions turn rough, and owners keep finding new ways to push them harder. Picture a compact rig handling steep gradients, deep ruts, and unpredictable terrain while larger contenders struggle to maneuver or even fit. Between obstacles, the real surprise is how a small platform can outperform expectations when engineering, community knowledge, and aftermarket creativity align. Enthusiasts are not just driving these machines, they are testing the limits of engineering and imagination, proving that capability is not always tied to bulk or price. What starts as a simple utility vehicle can evolve into a testbed for innovation and endurance. If you want more deep dives into stories like this, hit like and subscribe, then drop a comment suggesting the next model we should unpack. The Suzuki Jimny JB74 is often introduced as a compact answer to off-road needs, yet a long look at its background reveals that its size is only the beginning of the story. To understand how the current generation fits into a broader landscape, it helps to revisit the lineage that shaped it, starting with early utilitarian Mini 4x4s designed for tight trails and minimal weight. When the Suzuki Jimny JB74 arrived in 2018 with updated safety requirements, emission standards, and a more modern interior, it built on decades of incremental improvement in chassis stiffness, suspension geometry, and drivetrain packaging. Many drivers first encounter the Suzuki Jimny JB74 in urban or suburban environments where its footprint, turning radius, and fuel economy make it practical. Yet the real intrigue stems from the fact that underneath an almost toy-like silhouette is a ladder frame construction more commonly associated with serious off-road machines. The first impression often leaves newcomers puzzled by the combination of retro-themed styling and modern electronics, and this mix sparks the broader question of why a manufacturer held onto a traditional frame even as most compact vehicles transitioned to unibody designs. Longtime fans saw the Suzuki Jimny JB74 as validation of a philosophy that had survived multiple market shifts, including greater regulatory scrutiny and customer expectations for comfort features. The introduction of electronic stability aids, improved airbag systems, and a slightly more powerful engine did not erase the modest scale that defines the model, and buyers quickly learned that the real strength of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 lies in its balance between low weight and mechanical simplicity. To appreciate the setup, one must look at how axle articulation and approach angles contribute to traction in uneven terrain, and the fact that the Suzuki Jimny JB74 continues to use solid axles is a rare trait among small vehicles. While some observers assume that a coil spring setup with limited body mass would cause instability at higher speeds, actual usage shows that the lightweight structure helps the vehicle settle into ruts without overwhelming the suspension design. Over time, enthusiasts discovered that removing unnecessary weight or upgrading components such as dampers, brakes, or intake systems can significantly change how the Suzuki Jimny JB74 responds to varying terrain. But the core engineering remains constant. The ladder frame is essentially the skeleton that allows the suspension to flex without transferring excessive stress into the body shell, which also simplifies modifications aimed at raising ground clearance or fitting larger tires. Early adopters in regions with tight mountain passes praised the Suzuki Jimny JB74 for its ability to climb and descend with stability, and although the gear ratios were not tuned for high-speed cruising, they offered sufficient torque multiplication for controlled slow maneuvering. Understanding the context of the global market also sheds light on the unusual path the Suzuki Jimny JB74 took, because many regions with strict emissions or safety structures restricted sales, resulting in higher demand in areas where small off-roaders still fill practical roles. Some buyers treat the Suzuki Jimny JB74 as a recreational vehicle and outfit it with roof racks, storage systems, or compact overlanding gear, while others view it as a working tool for navigating rural landscapes, construction sites, or agricultural environments. One reason the platform resonates with both categories is that the relatively narrow body can pass through spaces that challenge wider trucks, providing access to forest trails, farm paths, or mountain roads with minimal trimming or land disturbance. The suspension travel from the factory is adequate for light to moderate obstacles, yet many owners note that the geometry has enough potential to benefit from aftermarket shocks. Adjustable track bars, and springs that increase flex. The drivetrain in the Suzuki Jimny JB74 uses a part-time four-wheel drive system with a low-range transfer case, a setup that is harder to find in compact form outside of certain niche offerings. Because the wheelbase is short, breakover angles are naturally high, and this reduces the risk of grounding out on ridges. However, the short wheelbase can also introduce challenges in loose surfaces at speed, which is why some drivers explore stability upgrades or tire changes to maximize performance. Examining the interior reveals another dimension of usage, since the seating position in the Suzuki Jimny JB74 is upright and visibility is broad, giving drivers a sense of control when threading tight spots or backing out of confined areas. Storage is limited, but clever solutions such as fold-flat seats or modular cargo attachments allow owners to tailor the cabin to camping trips or expedition-style outings. In any discussion of the evolution of the Suzuki Jimny JB74, it is essential to consider how previous generations influenced its capabilities, particularly in markets where older Jimny variants remain in circulation and serve as reference points for reliability and durability. Many long-term owners recount stories of older models tackling muddy fields or snowbound roads with minimal mechanical drama, reinforcing the image of a miniature vehicle that outperforms assumptions. The shift to the JB74 generation brought updated engine management and compliance with emission regulations, which altered the tuning of the power band, yet the manual transmission option and secondary features such as hill hold control retained the feel of mechanical connection. Numerous reviews highlight the contrast between the city manners of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 and the rugged hardware hidden beneath. And this contrast forms the basis of its appeal in communities that respect versatility over sheer output. What emerges after extended examination is that the model thrives on contrasts, because it does not try to compete with larger vehicles on towing capacity or cargo volume, instead focusing on the advantages of a compact footprint matched with proper off-road hardware. For those researching whether to modify a Suzuki Jimny JB74, the first question is usually whether the stock configuration is enough for the intended environment. Casual overlanders might find that skid plates, rock sliders, and mild tire upgrades provide sufficient protection and traction without overhauling the suspension or drivetrain, while dedicated off-road hobbyists pursue lift kits, differential upgrades, and gear ratio changes to match challenging trails. The curiosity surrounding the model centers on how far one can push a design that began with constraints on size and output, and several communities document their experiments with different lift heights, approach angle enhancements, and snorkel installations. Critics sometimes argue that modifications undermine road comfort or compromise certain handling characteristics, but the lightweight nature of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 can counteract some of the expected drawbacks of taller suspension or heavier accessories. An ongoing part of the conversation is the legal and practical aspects of these modifications, since regulations in some areas restrict tire sizes, lighting changes, or bumper replacements, yet owners find ways to comply with rules while still improving capability. The Suzuki Jimny JB74 enters the modification arena with a mix of enthusiasm and caution because owners quickly learn that upgrading a compact ladder frame vehicle demands careful planning. The first area people address is suspension height, as a lift kit instantly changes approach, breakover, and departure angles, but not all kits are created equal for the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Some use spacers to raise the body. Others rely on longer springs and shocks for true suspension travel gains, and a few high-end options provide adjustable components that let drivers fine-tune ride characteristics for specific terrain. Because the Suzuki Jimny JB74 has a short wheelbase, drastic lifts can alter its center of gravity. So enthusiasts often weigh the benefits of clearance against stability and on-road comfort. Once lift decisions are made, tire selection becomes the next priority, and owners looking to tackle mud, sand, or rocky trails pick all-terrain or mud terrain patterns that complement the upgraded clearance of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Fitting larger tires can require trimming, re-gearing, or aftermarket wheels with different offsets to maintain proper steering response and avoid rubbing at full articulation. And it is common for owners to measure clearances multiple times before final installation. A popular pairing is a moderate lift with tires 1 or 2 sizes up from stock, allowing the Suzuki Jimny JB74 to handle deeper ruts and loose surfaces without excessive strain on. Drivetrain components. Wheel upgrades often accompany tire changes, and choosing alloys or steel wheels with correct load ratings and bead retention properties helps the Suzuki Jimny JB74 maintain strength under stress. Some off-road specialists consider beadlock wheels for low-pressure traction, though local regulations may limit their use on public roads. While drivetrain stress is a concern, the factory transfer case in the Suzuki Jimny JB74 is geared for torque, and many builds remain well within safe parameters when alterations are kept within practical limits. However, for more advanced trails, owners investigate differential gear changes to restore low-end pull after installing larger tires, ensuring the Suzuki Jimny JB74 can crawl effectively in steep or uneven sections. The process of re-gearing requires mechanical knowledge or professional assistance, and it illustrates how deeply enthusiasts are willing to invest in the platform, alongside driveline upgrades. Protective armor becomes a logical next step, with skid plates, rock sliders, and reinforced bumpers shielding vulnerable components of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. The underside houses the transfer case, exhaust components, and fuel tank, and a direct hit from rocks or debris can disable the vehicle, so many owners install skid plates fashioned from steel or aluminum to deflect impacts. Rock sliders attach to the frame and provide a sturdy surface to pivot or slide across obstacles, reducing the risk of body damage to the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Front and rear bumpers designed for off-road use often integrate recovery points and winch mounts, allowing the Suzuki Jimny JB74 to self-recover or assist others in challenging terrain. Lighting upgrades are a common addition, with auxiliary lamps mounted on bumpers, roof racks, or pillars to improve visibility during night drives or low light conditions. Because road regulations vary across regions, some owners use removable covers or aim beams downward to comply with local statutes, yet the utility of better lighting in the Suzuki Jimny JB74 is recognized across driving communities. Snorkels are a frequent upgrade for those tackling river crossings or dusty environments, rerouting the air intake to roof level and helping the engine of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 avoid ingesting water or fine particles. Installation requires careful cutting of the fender or body panel, underscoring the commitment enthusiasts show to adapting the vehicle. Another realm of modification centers on interior storage and cargo management, where modular drawer systems, tie-down rails, and foldable sleeping platforms convert the interior of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 into a compact overlanding hub. Since cabin space is limited, owners use vertical storage solutions and roof racks to carry gear such as recovery tools, spare tires, water containers, and camping equipment. Roof racks designed for the Suzuki Jimny JB74 often include mounting points for awnings or rooftop tents, though added weight up high raises the center of gravity and can affect handling. Balancing equipment placement is essential to maintaining the vehicle's nimble off-road behavior. Ventilation and electrical enhancements also come into play, with dual battery setups, upgraded alternators, or power inverters allowing the Suzuki Jimny JB74 to support refrigeration units, auxiliary lighting, and charging stations for electronics. Wiring must be handled carefully to avoid draining the primary battery or causing failures in remote areas. The growing popularity of portable compressors and tire deflators reflects the importance of adjusting tire pressure on the Suzuki Jimny JB74 to match changing surfaces, providing traction and comfort without overtaxing the suspension. Braking modifications vary depending on tire size and intended usage, and some owners upgrade pads, rotors, and lines to ensure the Suzuki Jimny JB74 can maintain predictable stopping power with heavier loads. Ventilation slots and improved materials provide additional consistency during steep descents, an aspect critical to off-road safety. Suspension tuning often extends beyond lift kits, with adjustable dampers allowing drivers to select settings for highway travel or rugged landscapes, and sway bar disconnects helping the Suzuki Jimny JB74 increase articulation on uneven ground. Exhaust systems may be altered to improve airflow or reduce weight, though sound regulations influence how aggressive. Those changes can be. Engine tuning options range from mild remapping to aftermarket intake and exhaust enhancements, aimed at refining throttle response and fuel efficiency in the Suzuki Jimny JB74. In some markets, turbo or supercharger kits exist, but they require careful attention to drivetrain limits and cooling. An often overlooked aspect is communication and navigation, where owners equip the Suzuki Jimny JB74 with radios, GPS units, and satellite tracking devices for remote excursions. Long-distance travel requires precise route planning, fuel management, and knowledge of recovery techniques, and the Suzuki Jimny JB74 becomes a platform for exploring environments that test both machine and driver. Off-road events and club gatherings provide opportunities to see how different configurations of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 perform in real conditions, from sandy dunes to narrow forest tracks. These gatherings reveal trends in modification preferences, as some prefer a mild lift, moderate tires, and essential armor, while others push the envelope with full suspension overhauls, aftermarket axles, and winch systems. The social aspect reinforces shared knowledge, with experienced owners guiding newcomers on how to approach modifications without jeopardizing reliability. That reliability is a hallmark of the Suzuki Jimny JB74, and enthusiasts often emphasize maintenance routines, fluid checks, and regular inspections to ensure the vehicle remains functional across changing conditions. The Suzuki Jimny JB74 reaches its true potential not only through hardware changes but through the experiences that owners accumulate after modifications are in place. Trail performance often becomes the first benchmark, as drivers test approach angles, traction, and articulation in environments that range from loose gravel roads to jagged rock formations. Real-world use reveals that the combination of lightweight build and upgraded suspension helps the Suzuki Jimny JB74 maintain momentum where larger vehicles may struggle to navigate narrow passages or tight switchbacks. Crossing streams or shallow rivers with a snorkel and sealed electrics showcases how water management strategies keep the engine safe, and proper tire pressure adjustments give the Suzuki Jimny JB74 added confidence on soft surfaces. These outings also highlight recovery gear in practical use, as tow points and traction boards sometimes make the difference between continuing the journey and turning back, overlanding. Trips provide insight into how storage and interior modifications translate into day-to-day convenience, and packing strategies become essential for maximizing the limited cabin of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Owners who outfit their rigs with rooftop tents or drawer systems often remark on how accessible gear enhances efficiency during multi-day travels, especially when weather conditions add stress to the journey. The interplay of weight and handling remains a focal point, as an overloaded roof rack can compromise stability, compelling enthusiasts to balance equipment placement on the Suzuki Jimny JB74 for optimal ride quality. Long drives to trailheads test not only comfort but fuel consumption, and some owners choose auxiliary fuel containers or jerry-can mounts to compensate for the compact tank capacity of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. In regions with extended stretches between refueling points, planning becomes part of the adventure, and the vehicle's modest thirst offers a practical advantage. As journeys unfold, route planning often leads to encounters with varied terrains, such as desert dunes, snow-covered passes, or dense forest trails, each introducing a learning curve that refines the capabilities of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Community events and group expeditions further amplify knowledge exchange, allowing participants to observe how different builds handle identical obstacles. The Suzuki Jimny JB74 gains reputation in these gatherings by repeatedly demonstrating how agility, clearance, and torque can offset its smaller engine output. Skeptics who once doubted a compact platform frequently revise their opinions after witnessing the Suzuki Jimny JB74 navigate slopes or technical climbs that challenge heavier rigs. The compact nature of the vehicle simplifies recovery situations, as a winch or tow strap attached to the Suzuki Jimny JB74 can redirect the vehicle with minimal effort. Owners often report fewer instances of structural strain compared to larger trucks because reinforcing armor and suspension components tend to hold up well under controlled loads. Maintenance intervals become part of post-trip routines, with inspections of suspension mounts, drivetrain connections, and fluid levels ensuring that the Suzuki Jimny JB74 remains ready for future outings. Dirt and debris from mud or sand must be cleared from undercarriage protection to prevent premature wear. And replacing filters or checking seals helps maintain long-term reliability. Aside from direct usage, the cultural resonance of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 emerges in online forums, social media groups, and enthusiast channels that document modifications, recoveries, and travel stories. Owners share footage of steep climbs, remote campsites, and scenic overlooks achieved with the help of the Suzuki Jimny JB74, turning personal adventures into collective inspiration. These stories circulate beyond core off-road circles, attracting newcomers who are curious about the models. Adaptability. The increasing visibility leads aftermarket companies to develop more specialized accessories for the Suzuki Jimny JB74, further expanding the range of customization. Some businesses produce modular solutions for those who want to alternate between daily use and expedition readiness, making it possible to switch tires or storage systems with minimal downtime. Resilience under strain becomes one of the defining traits of the Suzuki Jimny JB74, with many owners emphasizing that. Careful modification and maintenance allow the model to withstand terrain that would compromise less focused platforms. The reputation extends to industries that require dependable access to remote sites, such as surveying, environmental research, or rural infrastructure support, where the Suzuki Jimny JB74 provides mobility in places with limited road networks. These professional applications underscore the model's value beyond recreation, and the modifications used in sport contexts often translate into practical enhancements for field work. As the off-road community evolves, the role of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 adapts, serving as an entry point for new enthusiasts and a canvas for experienced builders. The simplicity of the platform invites experimentation, and the modular nature of many aftermarket parts encourages incremental growth rather than immediate overhauls. This flexibility allows the Suzuki Jimny JB74 to fit a range of budgets and skill levels, fostering inclusivity in a hobby that can otherwise be cost-intensive. Observers note that the model's momentum in the global market prompts discussion about future iterations, including the possibility of hybrid drivetrains or advanced traction systems. But many insist that any evolution maintain the rugged character and mechanical clarity of the Suzuki Jimny JB74. Concern about emissions regulations and safety standards influences how manufacturers approach upcoming generations, yet the existing aftermarket community demonstrates that the platform can adapt without losing identity. The influence of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 extends to rival segments as well, prompting other manufacturers to reconsider scale, efficiency, and mechanical layout when designing compact off-road vehicles. While not every market receives the same version of the model, interest in its capabilities generates parallel demand for similar features elsewhere. In remote areas, the model's ability to carry essential supplies and navigate rough paths cements its reputation as a practical solution to transportation challenges. Photographers, wildlife observers, and outdoor professionals often choose the Suzuki Jimny JB74 for its ability to reach vantage points that would be off-limits to heavier vehicles. The model's footprint reduces soil disturbance and trail widening, a quality appreciated by land managers and conservation groups. Reflective analysis suggests that the platform's success lies in a mix of tradition and adaptability, with the latter frame providing structural integrity and the global aftermarket enabling personalization. Real-world performance continues to validate this combination, showcasing not only mechanical strength but also the importance of owner engagement. Long-term relevance for the Suzuki Jimny JB74 depends on how well it continues to balance regulatory compliance with the core attributes that define its identity. The Suzuki Jimny JB74 demonstrates how a compact platform can earn long-term relevance by combining mechanical fundamentals with a community willing to innovate over time. Observing how the model has been adopted across recreational and professional uses reveals a deeper pattern that distinguishes it from many short-lived entries in the off-road segment. While some vehicles fade once initial excitement passes, owners of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 continue to invest in maintenance, modifications, and skill building that reinforce the platform's reputation. That loyalty stems from an appreciation of simplicity, adaptability, and a form factor that fits environments where larger machines struggle to maneuver. The cumulative effect is a growing archive of first-hand accounts that validate its durability under strain. From remote expeditions to agricultural work, lessons learned on rugged trails translate into practical guidance for new owners, and the social exchange of tips, parts, and experiences sustains interest beyond a typical ownership cycle. Media coverage further amplifies the perception that the Suzuki Jimny JB74 thrives where obstacles are complex and space is limited. And this coverage feeds a feedback loop of curiosity and participation. The upward trend in aftermarket support confirms that the platform is not a novelty but an evolving candidate for long-term customization. Each build, whether mild or extensive, contributes to a shared narrative that highlights versatility over raw output. In broader cultural terms, the Suzuki Jimny JB74 appeals to aspirations of mobility, independence, and responsible exploration, especially at a time when many off-roaders confront increasing regulation and environmental scrutiny. Owners who modify responsibly help demonstrate that capability can coexist with compliance. And the vehicle's smaller footprint reinforces that principle. Discussions about future iterations often return to a desire to preserve the latter. Frame, low-range transfer case, and overall scale that define the identity of the Suzuki Jimny JB74, even if powertrains evolve to meet emission standards. The lasting impact of the model lies in how it invites newcomers to the hobby without alienating experienced drivers seeking a purist approach. Rather than trying to match the size or output of larger competitors, the Suzuki Jimny JB74 redefines expectations around what a compact off-roader can achieve through thoughtful engineering and ongoing support. Its story underscores the idea that capability is not solely dictated by engine size or vehicle weight but by strategic use of design elements, owner knowledge, and incremental upgrades. The enduring appeal of the Suzuki Jimny JB74 ultimately rests on this blend of tradition and transformation, and its continued presence in challenging terrain, online communities, and specialized industries suggests that the platform's journey is far from its peak. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more breakdowns of vehicles that blend history, utility, and modern adaptation, tap like and subscribe, then leave a comment naming the next model you want explored. Your feedback shapes each upcoming episode and keeps this exploration moving forward.